Hello everybody, welcome back to the Spoked Wheel YouTube channel. Today we're back with episode 23 of the Andy Schleck Pro Cyclist Mode series, which is pretty exciting news because today is the first ever video that we are riding for FAPL, having moved up into the Pro Continental ranks for the 2021 season. So there's a lot to be excited about right now at the start of the season. For the video today, I think we're going to sort of go through the team, go through a few housekeeping things, and then also determine how I'm going to play through this season because, like I said last video, I really want to get through this season quickly so that we can hopefully play a Grand Tour before Pro Cycling Manager 21 comes out and I move on to that game to record. So let's get started with that right off the bat. So we're going to start off the video by looking at our team. So given that we're a Portuguese team, it makes sense that the large majority of the riders on the team are from Portugal. I can't really see anyone's attributes at the moment, so I'm just sort of going off what I know about this game and cycling in general. The three names in terms of teammates that stand out to me are Joni Brandão. I know he's a pretty decent climber, puncher, who could certainly be of use to us as a teammate in the mountains. Aimé de Ghent is a solid rider, not really a climber, I don't think. It says he's a Northern Classics rider, so he'll be good for the team, but probably not really in the races that we are looking to be competitive in with Andy Schleck. And then lastly, Louis Meintjes. He's a very solid climber for this level. I think in real life he's currently riding for Intermarché in the World Tour after a couple of sort of quiet years, but he did finish, I think, in the top 10 of 3 different Grand Tours in the past, so he certainly has the ability to be, I think, probably our right-hand man on this roster in terms of climbing support for this 2021 season. So now that we've covered our team, we're going to look here at this email that we got about some of the moves that impact other teams. So they're saying that the biggest transfer ahead of the 21 season is Bob Jungels going to EF from De Kooning. Other moves include Sepp van Mark going to Bora, Theo Gegenhardt also going to Bora, Anthony Turgis to EF, Jack Haig, the Australian climber, going to De Kooning, Pavel Sivakov going to Bora as well, Felix Großschartner moving from Bora to Ineos, so Bora is very heavily involved in this list, a lot of turnover for them. Fabio Aru moving to Androni from UAE, Pat Bevan going to Bahrain McLaren, Carlos Verona to NTT, and then Xander Moraes going to AG Desert La Mondiale. So not maybe the most exciting offseason, but some big names definitely on the move. In particular, I think Bora got some pretty interesting signings ahead of this year. The next thing we have to look at here is our own personal attributes. So we did get one upgrade in the off season just based on earning XP from the month switching over. And we went with Puncher, I believe, to upgrade our attributes. So that gave us +1 to the mountain rating. We're now up to 79. +1 to our hill rating, so we're up to 75 there. We got a boost to our acceleration up to 73. Our secondary stats aren't looking too great at the moment with 64 stamina, 66 resistance, and 69 recovery, so we need to try and bump those up over the course of this season. And hopefully we can do that by winning lots of races and earning lots of XP, and then in turn getting a few more upgrades before we're ready to get into the World Tour ranks. So next we're going to look at our season objectives for 2021. Our first one between January and April will be Paris-Nice, which one of the bigger World Tour 1-week stage races, so that's an exciting opportunity that we have to try and ride that race and be competitive there. Our May to July objective is the Tour of Slovenia. I feel like this is a race that we could contend for the win in if we do well enough on this mountain stage and survive the time trials okay. And then finally, between August and October, our final objective of the season is the Crow Race, stage race in Croatia. Another one where if we do well enough on that big mountain stage that the race has, we could be looking for the GC victory there as well. Alright, so now we're going to look at the calendar for Andy Schleck for the season, and also talk about how we're going to do this season in terms of videos. So essentially what I'm thinking right now is that I'll pick a couple races from each section of the calendar, if that makes sense, to commentate over and record and use to make videos for this season. And then everything else I'll basically try and play through without doing commentary, so that will make it go by quicker, and as a result, hopefully we'll be able to finish this season pretty quickly and then get into our next season, which ideally will be with a World Tour team. I think that will probably be a good blend of seeing some action, seeing the most important races that we do this year, but also getting through things a lot quicker than our first season, because in order to play that Grand Tour before PCM 21 comes out, we do need to rush through this season, I think, as quick as we can, basically. So essentially what I'm thinking for this first section of the calendar is maybe this race in this stage in Valencia, perhaps one of these two kind of stages with a climb to the finish in UAE, and then perhaps this stage as well in Paris-Nice. So basically I'm just looking at the stages that look like they will suit us best in each given portion of the calendar. So for the next one, I'm thinking probably this stage in the Tour of Turkey. Looks like a good chance to contend for a stage win. And probably as well a stage in the Basque Country. I'm not entirely sure which one, but whichever one I think will end up being the most decisive, I think will probably be a good one to show as well. In the next section of the calendar, we have probably three clear favorites. The Mont Ventoux Challenge, which we finished second in last season, this mountain stage, which should be decisive in the Tour of Slovenia, and then the road race of Luxembourg, because we came very close to winning that last year, so I think it will be another exciting race this year. And then to end off the season, there's sort of fewer clear-cut chances. Probably this stage in the Vuelta a Burgos, because it has a decent climb to the finish. And then maybe something like Montreal here, and definitely this mountain stage in Croatia, because, again, I think it's a good chance to try and take a stage and perhaps as well take GC victory. So that's sort of what I'm thinking in terms of playing races for this season, but as I go along, I'll do little updates on how the season has been going, so people watching aren't completely in the dark, but I'm thinking currently that that's probably the best option to get through this season as quick as we need to. Alright, with all that being said, our first race of the video and of the season that we have recorded is going to be stage 4 of the Volta a la Comunidad Valenciana. So it's our first race of the season. It's classified as a mountain stage, so I think it should be a good chance to show our skills as a climber. We started the season with a nice second place at this race in Spain behind Nairo Quintana before we got into the race in Valenciana. We lost a lot of time on the GC in this 36-kilometer long team time trial, so we have some ground to make up on these climbs, but we did get a 5th place in this stage, I think, so we're capable of doing pretty well against the competition here once the road goes uphill. So I think we're going to have a good chance of getting a nice result on this stage. We're underway here in stage 4 in Valenciana. Our team actually wants us to go in the breakaway, but I don't think that makes a lot of sense. We have a really good +3 day, so +4 to our mountain rating, and perhaps more importantly, +7 to resistance, which will be huge for that final climb. We were one of the 2-star favorites in the pre-race magazine, so I feel like a top 5 on this stage, if you look at the final climb, would be a really decent result. There's definitely some steep sections in there, but I think we'll probably try and just ride at our own tempo and see how well we can do. There's some big riders here like Mikel Landa, Mark Hirschi, I think George Bennett as well, so some tough competition that we're up against, but I think given the race day condition and the type of terrain that the race takes place on, we could try and get a top 5 or a top 10 for sure. Alright, so we're inside the last 8 kilometers now. We're about to hit this final climb here. We're in a group of 15 riders, but I'm getting the sense that we're probably one of the 5 or so strongest climbers in the race, along with Landa, who's attacking right now, Bennett, and Hirschi. But we're going to have to attack to try and bring those guys back. Let's settle into a nice rhythm here. This climb is a little bit shorter than I expected, just based on looking at the profile, so we should be able to keep the effort pretty high, as Mark Hirschi is hitting the front of the race. Sepp Kuss was in a breakaway for a long portion of things, but he was brought back now by that move from Landa and Hirschi. But we've gotten back onto the wheel of Landa, which is a good spot to be. I think Kuss is now working for George Bennett now that he's been caught rather. So we're in a pretty good spot, I think. I'm going to keep this tempo. Maybe I'll bump it down a little bit to 75. But I'm hoping that we can bridge across to Hirschi here, and then perhaps even be in contention for the stage win. Hirschi's probably a little bit punchier, but maybe we could even drop him before the finish and before it comes to a sprint, because it looks like no one else is really coming across this gap with us, which puts us in a pretty good spot. Let's use the energy gel here, and let's bump it down just a bit to 65, because I don't want to go too deep here, although we're inside of 2 kilometers now, so let's bring it back up. See if we can observe Hirschi and see where he's at. He's pretty low on energy, so if we can keep this pace, there's a chance we might just be able to drop him. But it does start to flatten out here into the final kilometer, so he's going to open up the sprint. But he runs out of energy, so we're going to come past him and take the win. That's a big stage win for Andy Schleck. It's probably not going to be enough to get us really back into the thick of things on GC, because we started things 3 minutes and 29 down thanks to the team time trial, but it's a great win to get the stage win, and it should bring us back up the rankings a little bit. So now we have the results here. We beat Mark Hirschi in the sprint after he ran out of energy there towards the end. George Bennett and Felix Großschartner came home in 3rd and 4th, a minute 46 down, and then it was Mikel Landa rounding out the top 5, 2:27 down. So if we look now at the general classification, we're up into 5th place, still a fair ways down on the leader Mark Hirschi, because we only got bonus seconds back on him, but we've moved significantly up in terms of the rankings, so that's a really nice result from that stage. We've reached the end of the race in Valencia, so let's take a quick look at the results so far this season. So, like I said, we started the season with that 2nd place, coming just short against Quintana. We got that stage win on stage 4 of Valencia, which gave us a 5th place finish on GC, as well as the points classification and the best climber classification. So, I would say that's a very strong start for the new team, on the new team for Andy Schleck. Unfortunately, we haven't been given the wildcard invite to Paris-Nice, so the next video is probably going to be maybe this stage and this stage from UAE, and then we'll look ahead to the next section of the season in the next video. But thanks for tuning in to the start of the season. I'm excited to try and get through this one, and then we'll look ahead towards hopefully riding in a Grand Tour before this series has run its course. So thanks again. I'll see you next time.